Hello, my name is Kim Sauer at Electronica 2016. I'm joined today by Bjorn Dahle from KIC. Bjorn, it's great to see you here. Now, unusual to see you here because we're used to seeing you at other shows like Productronica. What are you doing here at Electronica?
Well, there's a lot of talk in the industry about a change, the industry trend of smart technology, and that trend really started in Germany. So I'm here primarily on a fact-finding trip to find out what is driving this, because I'm very interested in what is motivating this need for the technology. It has to solve a problem. It's not a technology for technology itself. And today I've had the opportunity to talk with some of the leading EMS companies and others in Germany, and it's been a revelation for me. And I'm really enjoying this trade show.
What are those key takeaways that you've learned from the big guys? And then maybe we'll talk about if there's differences between what they perceive that to be and what sort of the German Mittelstand, those smaller companies, think about.
Right. So the history is that first of all, it's very much customer driven. In Germany, it's dominated by automotive electronic manufacturing, and they're very demanding in terms of process control and so forth. So the first step was traceability. They want to know that each step and make sure that there is documentation that shows was this product produced in spec and so forth. But now they're demanding other capabilities, and it's a wide spectrum, but it really boils down to not just the machine, but the information from the machine and information from the process, having availability to this in real time so that the engineers can make better decisions. And then what I really hear a lot about this show is that, well, it's easy enough to acquire this information and then just blast it and get overwhelmed with it. So now we need to analyze it. We need to provide the users actionable information so it's very easy for them to use that and create value from it in terms of running their factory more efficiently.
So that is what we see here all over the show, termed as Industry 4.0. It's actually a term that derives from Germany. It's not a term necessarily that is used in the States. So for the US market, it's more IoT. It's Internet of Manufacturing, those sort of things. What are the key takeaways that you're learning from, I guess, the source of Industry 4.0 as you're experiencing it here that would apply to the US market and the players within that territory?
So one thing that's interesting is that very few people I talk to, few companies in the US is aware of this new industry trend. But when you start drilling down, it's clear that they have a number of problems that they're seeking solutions for. And this being a low margin industry, clearly companies are very careful in how they invest their money. So they want to make sure that return on that investment is there and it drives value. But more and more that the solutions that they're looking for deals with software, it deals with information, it deals with analytics to allow them to run their factories with more consistent quality, at lower cost, et cetera, et cetera. And even though they don't know about Industry 4.0 or IIoT or IOM or whatever the term may be, they're already today engaged with many of the elements that are under that umbrella of Industry 4.0.
I sometimes get the sense of people that hear these big terms that they say are concepts or invented by marketeers. They're a little bit, I don't know if scared is the right word, but at least the initial thought is, in order to achieve that, we have to invest a lot. You mentioned the low margins. It's unachievable to invest that amount. So, if I understand you correctly, it's actually what they're still investing towards an IOM, IoT solution at the end, but they're doing it step by step.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think that it's overwhelming if you sort of say, I want to do Industry 4.0 roadmap and I want to get it done over the next several years. So there are some low-hanging fruits, and if you can do that at a smaller scale, start with one machine or one process, and you can start reaping the benefits from that. And for example, in our company, KIC, we offer a $20,000 opportunity to make ovens smart and to connect that to the local area network where it could be connected to the MES system and so forth. And in doing that, you're risking $20,000 if everything goes wrong. And you are allowed to make your mistakes and you move up that learning curve. And once that small project is done and you start reaping the benefits of that, whether that's, as I said, typically consistent quality, lower cost production, then you're much better positioned to take on the rest of the factory in terms of smart technology. And the risk of doing the wrong investment or the risk of going down the wrong road is lower because you've kind of learned it on a smaller scale.
So machine equipment vendors like yourselves, how can you help your customers, new customers, be guided through this maze of what smart means, what IoT means, and how to make those small step investment? What's the advice that you'd give somebody who's setting out on this route without even knowing that they might already be on it?
Right. So I think it's compartmentalizing or start small. So look at one machine or one process. And what is the problem? Is it that your clients are demanding more and more documentation, more and more traceability? Is it the fact that you invest a lot of money to optimize the pick and place machine? In the United States, there's a lot of it's flexible production, so a lot of changeover every single day. And so you may have a $2 million line optimized on the pick and place side, sitting there for 20 minutes waiting for the oven to stabilize. So there might be some pain points that are really costing you money, and you decide to attack those first. And basically, it's like I once climbed the Kota Kinabalu in Borneo, and it took 2 days. And afterwards, I was thinking, how in the world was I even able to get up to 14,400 feet? And the answer was one step at a time, right? And I think that's Industry 4.0. Don't get intimidated by this tall mountain. Just focus on what should be your first step. Then take the second one and do this one by one, and you learn as you go along. And the other part of it, as I mentioned earlier, you don't have to wait until it's all done to reap the benefits. You start immediately getting return on that investment and getting benefits from the initial investments.
And as a company, you've had to evolve in your way of dealing with your customers, because you've gone from, well, what's essentially an equipment vendor to somebody who is also a consultant and an advisor to your customers to help them through that process.
Absolutely. And we being, we're more of a software company these days than an equipment company. We are very much into an educational process. And when it comes to the smart technology, it's also very important to include IT services. And of course, their reaction is that they're responsible for the integrity of the data, the security, and so forth. So we have to work with the production guys, the IT guys, and there are also business opportunities for doing this to make a country manufacturer more competitive, getting clients that are appreciating and value this kind of capability. So we're also looking at the business end. So we're trying to deal also with the higher level executives that are looking at this from a business perspective. So it's a fairly complex project from our end, and it takes a while, but it's not rocket science. And particularly if you limit it to this one particular area of interest and not sort of bite more than you can chew.
Okay, well Bjorn, I think you've lifted a whole weight of Industry 4.0 concept off of a lot of people's shoulders. Thank you very much for your time today, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you, Kim.